Hey, it's so good to be back with you. My name is Jeff Fuller, Jay Fuller Interviews. Jeff Fuller is my name. Jay Fuller Interviews is where you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, the Facebook group, and all over the place. And what fun it is to have different leads lead to different people and different stories, make us better as we listen to their stories. This is a friend of my brother's from college, and Greg, welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Greg, so I don't mess it up. How do you pronounce your last name again?
Jaloszynski, Greg Jaloszynski.
Jaloszynski. And so
You
you
got
went to Eastern Nazarene College. What led you to go to ENC?
My goal in high school was to play college sports, and Coach Fleming recruited me from local high school down here in the Hudson Valley, Pine Bush High School, and I fell in love with him as a coach and the school. I just love the Boston area, but I really wanted to go play basketball, and I was fortunate enough to get recruited to go play there.
Now, did you grow up a Nazarene or what was that affinity for ENC?
I had no idea what the Nazarene Church even was until we found out about Eastern Nazarene. My dad was just looking for Christian schools, and we went to a few. And every college that I went to, everybody kept telling me I was too small to play college basketball, and I just kept working and kept getting stronger. And ENC ended up being where I landed. So
Greg, how tall are you?
just under 6 foot tall, just under 6 foot tall. But I was a shooting guard,
There you
and
go.
but I graduated high school at like 5'10", 125 pounds. So not really like a masterpiece for recruiting, but I had the I had the drive to do it. So I grew a couple inches and put on a bunch of weight in college. So
So
yep.
did Coach Fleming let you shoot the threes like they do in the NBA now, or was he more traditional?
No, it was a totally different game when I played. I mean, the game has changed so much, and I'll tell you what, I would love to play in today's game where it's just like free reign to launch threes. But I was the sixth man. I came off the bench, and I just picked my spots and spot up shooter. But we ran motion offense, and I just found holes, sat down in holes, and shot threes.
Yeah, I had the privilege of interviewing a teammate of yours, Kobe Smith, and he's a fun guy and reliving the
Yeah.
glory days. He loves to tell stories, so a lot of fun.
Yeah. Kobe and I have a great story. We actually beat Salem State University. They were like, Paul Ragland, if he was listening to this, would be able to correct me on exactly what they were ranked. But I think they were like top 5 in the Northeast at the time, and they were just a powerhouse. And at the end of the game, it came down to the end of the game, and Kobe threw me a pass, and I hit a three off the dribble, and it was pretty awesome because we beat them, and we had no right to be in the game with them. So that was a fun memory for me and Kobe.
Yeah, something about teammates, but even stronger is that of brothers. Talk to me about two brothers, 12throck.org. What's going on in your life now?
You got about 5 hours because it's been cool. My brother and I, like after I graduated from college, we both actually moved back to our area where we're from in Orange County, Middletown, New York, and we both ended up getting married, and we started a landscape construction business together. And while we were doing that, I still wanted to be involved with sports, so I was coaching, and I actually started a sports ministry in our area. So we're going into our 20th year of doing sports ministry here in Middletown and the surrounding areas. But about 8 years ago, we actually walked away from our business, went into full-time sports ministry, and it's been cool to watch how God's working because over the last 5 years, we've been working on developing a vision for an indoor sports complex right in the Middletown area. We bought a piece of property in 2016, and we're slowly developing that to put an indoor complex that's about 128,000 square feet, indoor track facility and basketball and volleyball facility. And it's looking to attract athletes and their families from 3-4 hours radius of our area. So it's an awesome opportunity for us to get our mission out there.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty amazing. Now, having a family, I imagine it's been a walk of faith. There's a picture behind me of your family. Can you
Yeah.
just talk about leaving the security of a regular paying job to beginning a nonprofit doing the sports ministry? How has that increased your faith during the process?
Well, tremendously. First of all, every day both of us get up and thank God for the saints of wives that are that God blessed us with, because we did the same thing when we went into business. We didn't have any money. We both had good jobs, and we said we want to go into our own business. And our wives are like, "Well, if this is what God's telling you to do, then do it." And God blessed us for years with that, and we did the same thing here. And that's actually why we call the ministry 12th Rock, because as we were trying to name it, we're looking for a name that's not like super religious sounding, but appeals to the unchurched and to the people that just don't know who God is. And we were looking through the story of Joshua, and it really resonated with us. The story of Joshua, when he's bringing the Israelites to the Promised Land and comes to the Jordan River, and there's a line in Joshua 3 and 4 that says that the priests had to have the faith to put their feet in the water and trust that
Hmm.
God was going to stop the waters so that they could cross into the Promised Land on dry ground. So we named it 12th Rock after the 12 stones that they stacked as a memorial to show God's faithfulness to future generations. So as we're telling our journey and our testimony, we just want people to understand that each day is a step of faith, and that God's going to provide in miraculous ways and sometimes in little ways. And it's cool to watch the stories develop as we do take those steps of faith, because we're we're taking on a gigantic project that God's told us to do, and we don't have the resources to do it. But as certain resources come in, we just take a faith step and go, all right, God, this is what you want us to do, then this is what we're going to do. And it's just an unbelievable testimony, because the world sees it as, well, where are you guys getting all this money from? And we're seeing it as God is providing. And it's also going to circle back and help all these families that really need something during these struggling times that we're in right now.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit now during this COVID time. How are you guys doing? How are you able to have camps and invites? What precautions do you have to take during this COVID time?
Yeah, it's been interesting. So when COVID hit, we actually have a whole bunch of AAU level like performance basketball teams that were rolling out, ready to start playing in tournaments. We had to cancel all that. We have a whole bunch of basketball academies in the spring. Had to cancel all those. All of our archery programs canceled. All of our summer camps that we do, we work with Word of Life camps in Spoon Lake, New York. All of those camps were canceled. So we really just use the time to spend some time with our families, kind of rethink how we're doing ministry, really touch base with our donors and like thank them, and really just circle back and kind of just think about like, hey, how can we move forward during this pandemic, and how can we show people that we don't need to fear this, that we can prayerfully move through this and safely move through it. So we started getting creative. Like I see you got a picture of our little golf league up there. I was like, what's open? And golf
Yeah.
courses were open. So we did a father son golf league, and it was phenomenal. And it was great because guys are working from home now, and they got out of the office and they played some golf with their kids. So we can run stuff like that safely. I don't know when we're going to be able to run basketball again safely. So we've gone to the track and field world, and because we can do that safely, and we have a great connection with USA Track and Field, and we've been hosting sanctioned meets all summer long, and we'll do so all the way through the fall. We're following all of the Orange County Health Department protocol, all of the USA Track and Field protocol as far as COVID goes, and people have blessed us with software systems that we're not paying for that are super expensive so that we can track everything. And it's just been really cool to see God use that, because there are people that just are not ready to get their kids out to activities yet, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are ready to go. And like, I don't know, I don't know if everybody can see it, but in the background, way in the background, our archery program is about to start. We got about 30 archers coming today, and these kids are ready, and they're going to come and shoot archery and hear the word a little bit this week, and hopefully learn about some character. But we have people driving 45 minutes today to come because we're the only guys running any type of programming in our area. So people are ready, but we just got to be safe about it. And we're just going to try to be the steady voice for these people and get them to understand that you don't have to fear this, that we serve a bigger God that can take care of us in this situation.
I definitely agree with that. And I read somewhere that more and more families have experienced outdoor time than ever before as a family.
Yeah.
Can you just share a little bit about the property and how important is it that people get out just for that fresh air aspect?
Oh, so this property has been such a blessing to us, even like during this time, especially because, like, so yesterday we had 45 athletes here, and some of them traveled from as far away as 3 hours, like a couple guys from Philadelphia. And they're trying they come on site and they realize that this is just a beautiful country setting. So we maintain it really well. It's park like, and it's a great space. So as far as like COVID goes, people can get out, they can space out, they can keep their distance, but they're out in fresh air and they're experiencing God's beauty, and their kids are getting a program. And our biggest thing is we want to be ministering to families, so we want them to be out and be able to interact with each other in a safe way. And yeah, it's the property has been so beneficial to us this during all this, because outdoor space, you hit it exactly right. Outdoor space has been huge because people can they feel a lot more comfortable outside than in a confined space. So it allows us to ease people's minds a little bit being outdoors.
All right. So you said that you're in business with your brother. Who's older, you or your brother?
I am by almost 3 years. Yep.
All right. And so who wins the battles or the fights that take place? Is it like when you were younger and you just punched it out, or how do you get through that adversity?
So we don't wrestle anymore because we're too old for that. I mean, we'll. I think both of us would be maimed for a while. And we love to battle it out on the basketball court, but I don't think he's ever beat me once, ever on a basketball court. So, but he can shoot a bow and arrow much better than I. So we know each other's strengths, and most of the times we can just talk it out. And uh, I think the biggest wrestling match we had was when he came home after his freshman year of college. He was probably 25 pounds heavier than me, and he beat the tar out of me because he was so much heavier, and I couldn't do anything. But yeah, that's probably the last time we wrestled or did anything like that. So
Yeah,
um,
so my brother, as you know, he's still kind of slight, but he's 6'3", and I have him probably by 50 pounds now. I say muscle, not weight, but muscle. And I
well,
never could beat him, but there's something that comes with having an older brother. I always automatically gave my brother respect because, well, I loved him and he was better at certain aspects. Have you had to work through that with your brother as being equals, or how does that work in a business relationship?
yeah, it's strange. A lot of people ask us that question because we were in business together. Probably since we were in high school. We had a lawn mowing business in high school, and it's they're challenging times. And then you add dynamics of marriages, and you know, praise God, our wives get along and all that stuff. But I mean, we we know each other's strengths and we play off of each other's strengths. So yeah, it's been cool to see God work, and we don't always agree, and um, but the thing is, we both have a common mission, and we both understand that we have a calling, and we both know that this is what we're supposed to be doing. So that makes it much more simple. Like I think when you don't have God on your side, I know when you don't have God on your side, a brother business relationship can go sour so fast because money's involved and family dynamics are involved. And um, yeah, so we do a pretty good job of setting boundaries and allowing each other time for our families. And because it's very easy to see ministry growth happening and just go 100 miles an hour and go, we got to do this, especially during COVID, because now we're starting to open up and we're like, oh man, we got to do this because we haven't done anything in a while, and we just got to make sure we're balancing it, balancing our family and the ministry and all that stuff.
Yeah, and balancing the ministry going forward. So you mentioned a pretty major financial undertaking. If people want to get involved, what's the best way for them to do so?
So if you want to learn about that project, you got the website up there. But if you go to 12rock.org/future-home, that'll show you the entire vision for what we're trying to do. And this thing, we've been doing this project debt free so far, and that's our intent, is to continue to try to do it debt free with people's generosity. And it's it's cool because people are not only donating their resources in the form of finances, they're donating their equipment that they can offer us, and their time, and materials. And we haven't paid for a piece of construction equipment for this site since we started. So
Wow.
like, we have a local guy that's we used to rent and buy from, and he drops off bulldozers and excavators for us, and we can run all that stuff. So it's huge benefit. But yeah, if anybody wants to learn about it, it's 12rock.org. It's right on our homepage. You just click on Future Home, and you can learn everything about what's going on with the project. But yeah, we're looking for people to get behind the vision, because right now we're impacting about 5,000 people a year through our programs, and this facility will do that in a week. So it's just a different, God's shifting gears for us, and giving us an extreme responsibility to continue to share His message through sports.
That's really special. And for me, what I love most is that you do not have to be a Christian to attend or to show up, but you get to impact so many with the truth of Jesus and the hope that he has.
Yeah.
Just talk about the guy you were sharing off air about throwing the javelin. You don't have to use names, but
Yep.
talk about the people that come across your property. Are you ever surprised at who shows up, who God brings to you?
Every time. Like, I had no idea that this young man was coming. I see names, and I don't know anything about the track and field world. We're so blessed because 5 years ago, a gentleman named Coach Dan Mecca, he's the head coach, or at the time he was the head coach at Manhattan College for track and field. He lives about 20 minutes from our property, and somebody from the local school districts, we were meeting with like the governing board of the locals, like the Section 9 governing board, to share the vision for the facility. And Coach Mecca was invited to that meeting. It was at a local diner, and he said, I'm coming, I want to find out about this track. So when he was sitting there, he just told my brother, he goes, I want in. I want to help you guys. So he coaches, currently he's coaching for Team USA. He just was at the Pan American Games in Peru, and he'll be going to the Olympics with Team USA. He's just a phenomenal guy, and he is super connected within the throwing world. So, I mean, our next meet, we have the number one hammer thrower in the world coming to throw, and we're watching Olympians throw on our property, future Olympians. And we're watching, we have the kid that's the New Balance junior national champion in the shot and discus, throwing here every week. His family drives an hour and a half to come up and throw. So I'm in complete awe of the people that are walking this property. But yesterday was cool because we were talking, like, we were shooting a promo video for the property. So we had a drone flying over, and everybody's like, what's up with the drone? So we were interviewing families and just kind of asking their take on what's going on here. And the response has been so positive, and it's encouraging for us because we don't know track and field, but we know how to do events, and we know how to do hospitality, and we know how to make sure all families are cared for. And none of these families know, like, from what my conversations, none of them are involved with church, but they're asking our story. So we're having the opportunity to share that God is doing this, that God is putting this whole thing together, that God has dropped Dan Mecca in our lap, and that God is bringing, all these future Olympians to the property to see this. And, you know, the connections that are being made that could get us to the place where we need to be financially are amazing. And all these people, it's because their kids are being impacted. And we hear over and over again that they'll keep coming back
Yeah.
because of the experience they're having with their families. And we know from experience that God's going to open the door for us to share the gospel at some point in time. And we're just doing it at a slow drip right now. And it's about relationships, and it's about loving on the families, making sure they're taken care of. And we know that God's going to give us the opportunity to share our mission with them and the real reason why we're doing all this. And yeah, so it's just cool. So every week I'm in awe. Every week I'm in awe of what God's doing.
Hey, truly fascinating. And a couple more questions, then we'll get you out. Switching gears a little bit, social media has played a huge part in everyday life now. First question is, if you had Twitter and Instagram back when you were playing basketball and baseball at Eastern Nazarene College, would that have affected you any differently, or possibly your playing time if Coach Fleming would have seen your posts?
You know what? I personally don't do a lot of stuff on social media. I use it for the ministry, and I really am trying to like teach my kids the dangers of it. And there's so many positive things to it, but there's so many dangerous things. And I think too often kids are looking, like athletes especially, like kids on our performance basketball teams and stuff. I really have conversations with them about the dangers of self promotion and all that stuff, because it's once it's out there, it's out there. So I'm glad, like, I thank God that it wasn't around when I was an athlete, because it's just one more thing that these athletes have to deal with, because there's so much pressure coming from it. If you don't post something, if you don't do something on social media, then you're almost an outcast. And I think it's just an added stress level that's added to athletes. So would it affected my playing time? I don't know. I'm a firm believer in, like, if you work hard in practice, you should be on the court. And Fleming was that guy. So I was blessed to play with a coach like that. And I think too often people use it as a means to like get themselves out in front of people. And to be honest with you, all the college coaches that I'm talking for are looking for true, genuine, like well-rounded young men and young women when they're recruiting, because it's not just about the athletics. And
Yeah.
that's what people need to understand, because you can put a pretty good persona up on social media, and then you really find out who this person's all about. I don't know, it's a scary thing to go down.
Yeah, it's true. Hey,
Yeah.
so when we look at your time at Eastern Nazarene College, focused primarily on basketball and baseball, as we mentioned, but now you're interest or idea about. Just talk to me a little bit about how important is it to exhibit some range and not just stick to what you've always known, but allow yourself to grow and listen and learn other avenues, other sports as well.
You got cut off a little bit, but I think I heard your question. So, like, other than just sticking with just the sports that you know, like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, um, I'm a huge proponent for multi-sport athletes. Like, when I start hearing parents go, "We're going to specialize," and I was like, dangerous road to go down, because you don't know, as an athlete, where you're going to end up landing. Like, perfect example is my boys, right? So, like, I'm a basketball guy through and through. I mean, when I was growing up, I was going to play Major League Baseball. That was my goal. And then I fell in love with basketball. Then I found out that I had no arm. Like, I had no arm in baseball. Like, I couldn't throw the ball into the infield in the air barely. So, like, I was never going to play Major League Baseball. I was never going to play professional basketball. So, yeah, I had to have more things in my toolkit, right? So, to move on with life. So, with my boys, I said, listen, you got to make sure you're playing multiple sports, because you never know where you're going to get the opportunity. So they were all always playing soccer and basketball, and then we found lacrosse. And my oldest got a lacrosse scholarship. My middle guy's going to play lacrosse at Messiah, and my youngest guy's probably going to, if he ends up going to college, he's going to end up playing lacrosse in college, because it's just, he kept the door open for opportunities. And when I'm talking to college coaches about kids that I coach and they're trying to recruit them, what other sports does he play? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
coaches are not looking for a guy that's just a basketball only guy, because uh, unless he's a freak athlete, unless he's just, 7 foot tall and can run like the wind and dunk on people, if because guys that are multi-sport guys know how to compete and they know how to win. And so, like, I coach lacrosse at the local high school, and I recruit all non-lacrosse players. Like, I go out and find football players and basketball players and soccer players, because they lacrosse isn't their first sport. But I
right.
look for competitors. So I'm like, this kid's gonna learn this game, and he knows how to compete. So I know I can get him to throw and catch, but I can't teach him to compete.
Right.
So I think being a multi-sport, multifaceted guy is so beneficial to a coach. And it also humbles people. Like, when it's not your best sport, it humbles you as an athlete. So it's good to be involved with other things
Yeah, it
for sure.
teaches you different roles. On one team, you might be the
Yeah,
best. On another team, you are not. So you have a
correct.
little bit more empathy. Hey, so future home at the 12throck.org page is where you can find more information. And Greg, once more, how do you pronounce your last name?
Jaloszynski.
Jaloszynski. It's right up there for everybody to see. Make sure you check him out on Instagram and Twitter as well. But two fun questions. The first is, if you were asked to play in a fictional movie, would you want to play the hero or the villain?
Oh, hero.
Hero.
Yeah.
See, I always go back. I'm a pastor, so if it's fictional, again, fictional, I think I want to play the villain every time. So maybe
Yeah.
that's a character flaw.
Yeah.
Uh, the last question, or second to last question, it's two parts. I stole this from Hernando Planos. If or when the future feature film is made about your life, who plays you?
I don't know about that one, man.
So while you think about that, I'll tell you mine. Not that we look anything alike, but I always say Dwayne the Rock Johnson. That's who's going to be playing me.
That's a good one. You know who I like? Really, I like the character Doc Hollywood from the movie Tombstone. I think
Okay,
Val Kilmer, man.
there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
And then the second part to that question that gets me in trouble, who plays your love interest in that feature film about your life? And again, I'll go first while you think. I say Halle Berry, which makes my wife shake her head because, well, she doesn't look like Halle Berry.
Yeah.
She is Caucasian and 5'10". But
Yeah.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Halle Berry, I think that'd make a movie worth seeing. What say you?
It'd be Val Kilmer and Meg Ryan.
There you go.
There
Hey,
you go.
my brother always liked Meg Ryan too, so that's funny stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, thank you so much for making the time. 12throck.org. We're going to keep in touch and really spread the word. And it's
Appreciate it.
amazing to see what God's doing in your life and just your faithful obedience. So thanks so much for sharing that testimony.
No problem. Thanks for the opportunity, man.
All right, Greg, we'll be
All
in
right.
touch.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Again, that's Greg at 12throck.org, 12throck.org. We'll be back with more great interviews. As you mentioned, Kenny Anderson's coming on the program on Wednesday, as well as former UNC alum David Chadwick is joining us as well. We'll talk soon. Thanks again. Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're everywhere. Jay Fuller Interviews.